Welcome to Magical Aspirations, a podcast for magical people,
where we aspire to gather all of the knowledge that magic has to offer.
A place to illuminate and demystify all things magical.
We are your magical co-hosts. I am Annalisa.
Reverend Raven here.
Adriana.
Tune in every Tuesday where we're dropping new episodes every week about our own personal magical stories.
Have a spanking good time.
And sprinkle some interviews in between.
There is so much magic here. Keep coming back every week. Stay magical.
Stay magical.
Stay magical.
And on that note, welcome to Magical Aspirations. I am Reverend Raven, and we are joined here today with the fabulous Jaclyn Garza Lang. Welcome back, Jackie.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
We are joined by our beautiful co-hosts, Adriana and Annalisa. Say hello to the people.
Hi. Hello, people.
Well, since we are right here in the depths of Pisces season, we decided that this would be a great time to revisit our talk about transformation. And I was just thinking back to the first time that we interviewed Jackie. It was during our Ostara event a couple years ago, the Fuck It Ostara episode. And we are almost back there again. We are the end of February. Today is the 25th as we are recording. And like I said, we are in the depths of Pisces season. So many things have happened since we recorded on that episode. And we really just want to sit and unpack the good, the bad, the nitty gritty of transformation. So what do you have to share with us today, Jackie, to start us off?
I really don't even know where to start. You mentioned unpacking, and there's just like so much of that packing gonna happen in my life. But I guess it's a good point to start with like unpacking and reflecting on what's happened in the year before you can go ahead sometimes. And so like looking back, there has been changes in living arrangements within my immediate family. Like for those that don't know, my husband lives and works in Nashville, while he was building and developing a company, a fiber optics company. And that was a whole new adventure for us. And so there were some adaptations as far as like living long distance, because we've been together for 15 years and we've always like, he's always been out of town a lot, but it's always been him living at home and just like coming to visit and, coming every couple of weeks. And, the longest that he's ever been gone is a month. Actually, it's been a couple of months, but we got it down to where it was like, 3 weeks on, come home for the weekend kind of thing. And him living in Nashville made it really challenging to make that more frequent. And so, managing the home on my own, so to say, raising a teenager, 15-year-old, that was, has been a challenge. It's been lovely. He's a great guy. He's a great kid, but there's those places where you need support. And so I became head of household again, just like single mom, just head of household. If I had struggles, I needed to figure them out on my own. I really faced like learning and separating from codependency and moving to interdependency. And that was like an upgrade within our relationship, moving from like attached or anxious development and attachments to being like secure attachments. And, we've been separated in the past, but we really just came together through the long distance. And so that's been huge. That's number one for that. And then like just making time to be together and to communicate and connect routinely in a consistent way without ignoring that like he's not home. Because you can do that, but your body knows, your systems know, and your heart knows. And so it's good to acknowledge those things without getting sucked under the current. So that's what I've been working the majority of this past year to stay above water. I had a massive injury. I transformed the way that I handled things because I was down on my back with a nerve injury, and it couch bound me, bed bound for months, and like I lost functionality and and independence, and I lost a lot of abilities and common stuff, like I said, the functions of like bending over and picking up a sock or picking up my home or taking the trash and just little things, and washing my hands after going to the bathroom, and even that was a struggle because everything was pain. And so I worked really hard on, again, staying ahead of that current, above the current, knowing that I had to like maintain, like there's no going backwards. For Fuck It Ostara, we talked about the different transformations and growth that I had physically, mentally, health wise, mindset wise. And so like last year was a really big year of maintenance for me because I've already lost 110 pounds. I've already done the challenges. I've already won the medals. I've already done the 5Ks. I've already done the things. I've already got the tracking. I've already got all of those things. And it became more in depth, more layers were being peeled back. And it was more necessity of time management, boundary assessment, self-worth assessments, figuring out that like I needed to stop going and seeing my friends so much and start focusing inward, and like, what, being alone is okay. Like, just because my partner was away didn't mean I needed to be, anxiously or, codependent attached to my friends and experiences and family days and situations without really addressing, like, why am I so focused on this? Because I ended up overpouring and overgiving to spaces that weren't reciprocal, that weren't asking. There were just different things that I was navigating socially, spiritually, not so much with spiritual, like, what do I do? Who am I? And what do I believe? But like, really, it was shadow work 9,000. This last year was extremely challenging on all fronts, except for financially, which was wonderful. It was a wonderful blessing, but it was definitely all magic comes at a cost. And so, like, we had that abundance, but there's also like that absence. It's really present and like palpable, like you can really feel it. And so it was a lot of navigating this, that, and the other, and just kind of trying to like come back to basics and figure out why my body was revolting, and like, not that I had to like beat my autoimmunity or beat my, nervous system. No, we're not gonna like attack it head on, because my body was sending signals to like slow the fuck down and listen. Like, you're pouring too much into spaces that are not doing the same for you in the ways that you need it. Like, it's okay to like visit your friends and go to places and see people, but like making sure that I'm pouring into my passion projects and my creativity and my household and my needs and fulfilling my heart with my doings, because nobody else can make you happy. Nobody else can fill you up. Nobody else can, people will say, "Oh, I support you," but like nobody else really was doing my dishes for me. You know what I mean? Like, I had a friend come and help me out with a load or two, and I had another friend come and help out with a load or two, but it was like, not to be ungrateful, but like I needed so much more help. And so instead of reaching out to help other people, like, how can I help Jackie? Because that's what I needed. And
Mhm.
so I needed to learn that over the past year. And I did physical therapy. My friends had to drag me to the emergency room, and they wheeled me in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. I had lost all functions of that, um, just from being contracted, and like I crippled myself with my mentality and with my physical self. Like, I hurt myself doing a workout move. I did an RDO, a Russian deadlift, and I did it with like a 15-pound weight. And it was so like such a silly little motion. Isn't that always how it happens? But like, it was just a small movement, and like it was the same thing when I injured my hamstring. Like, it put me flat out for a while. And so I was really tired of feeling the past injuries that I had. I had broken my foot. I had, or fractured my foot rather. I had, had torn my hamstring. I pinched a nerve in my back. And then, this last year, it re aggravated it. So it was really a re aggravation of it. But when I went to the physical therapy, I was like, basically, I just ignored all my own injuries. I just ignored my injuries and pressed on like nothing happened. I gave it some time, but I never rehabilitated it. I never put back into that and built it foundationally. So that's what I spent this last year doing, was just going and doing physical therapy and reestablishing, like, literally from the foot up, from the ground up. Like, can I pick up my big toe by itself? Like, mobility, range, function. I don't care how much I can squat because I can't, like, reach over it all. And so I began really again peeling it back in the wellness and the health industry of like what's important to me. Like, I don't care about getting smaller. I want to get stronger. I want to like be able to do like carry my groceries. I want to be able to get out of my own chair without someone having to close my recliner for me, because that was my reality. And so I'm really appreciative of it because it again peeled back those layers of functionality, of necessity, of what's really golden in this world, in this life. And it's not like surface. It's like I want to be able to grow old with my people and not have them, not that it's the worst thing that would ever happen, but like I don't want to be pushed around in a wheelchair, and I don't want to depend on other people to do a lot of things. And so I really got to do some digging on that as well. So I paired that in with my shadow work. I did the physical labor to get to where I'm at. I've taken so much muscle relaxer and nerve medication just to get me to this point, but that's another piece of asking and receiving help. Like, there's medicine for a reason. And, would I go to the doctor because of general concerns? Probably not. There's a plant for that. But like for major things, like I needed an MRI and I needed some answers and I needed direction. And so it was really just about focusing. That's what my transformations were, was like relinquishing controls, just like finding where my power was, reclaiming my energy. It was like seeing health and wellness through a different filter, a different lens. And that kind of, I don't want to say it like messed me up, but it also threw a wrench into my health and wellness business, because I don't want to just sell products. I want like for you to be living your best life for what you need. And so like being awake did a lot for me. And sometimes you just want to like close your eyes because like I'm tired of seeing, like just take my spiritual glasses off because I'm tired of seeing. And I had a lot of that as well. So just discernment, learning discernment. And so my transformations have been on a much deeper level than like I've lost weight, or um you know, I don't know, but I'm at that place where I am pouring back into myself and remembering that that's how we give in abundance, is through that. So, that's my biggest year reflection.
That's incredible. And I know that I would not have been able to go through the transformations that I've gone through this past year if it wasn't for your help, Jackie. Physically, emotionally, mentally. She was one of the people that came to my house and helped me pack my shit up whenever it was time to go. Annalisa helped me pack my altar. Jackie's husband and son loaded my couch. It was so many times that I was on the phone, crying and looking for support. And you realize when you go through those hard times that you can't count on everybody else. Sometimes all you got yourself, but sometimes there's good fucking people out there that you can call on too. So you have
Yeah.
to remember that you don't have to do everything on your own too. So that's definitely a balance and something that I've continued to learn.
I really learned about like, instead of looking at like who's not on your side and who's not picking you and who's not respecting you, to really like unzoom, zoom out from the picture. And that was perfect alignment with today's daily fire from our like growth day podcast that we're doing together or learning from as a team. But it was like zooming out and like, actually, why don't I dial into people that are showing up for me? Why don't I look at what's working for me? Instead of being like, oh, this hurts when I do that, why don't I look at what feels good when I do that? Because this hurts when I do that was keeping me stuck on the couch with an ice pack on my back for 8 hours a day, and asking what feels good was more proactive for me and more fulfilling for me and more of that gnosis that like I am supported and I'm here to bring my purpose to prophecy, so to say, and fruition. And I know that my hard things are to be shared. Like I'm not like stuck in this hole and not gonna, like life's not hopeless for me, but leaning in and looking at what is there for you, that support system, that was the biggest thing. And then seeing you guys move, like, so we have huge news of after living in Louisiana for 6 years of chasing the job location. That's what brought us here. But here we are revisiting that exact situation again. And it's time to pack up and leave. And like, I'm like, I just hung up my Harry Potter candles, like strung them from the ceiling. I don't want to take them down. What do you mean we've got to move homes? But like home has not been home since my husband's been gone. It's like, sure, home is within me, but there is a large piece of it that is like not there. And I feel like I'm prepping for his death because he's not home. And I'm like, oh, well, this is teaching me how to live without him. And so, like, it's a grim silver lining, but like, that's what's got me through it so far. And I kind of need to flip the script on that. Like, we're like, at the same time, I'm also like, we are building and this is a sacrifice. But like, I'm the altar, not the sacrifice. And I am
Mhm.
ready. I'm the altar, not the sacrifice. I say that for spirit to sink in on that because, like, he gives up so much of himself. And then for what? Like, we don't have each other, we don't have the time. And so, watching you guys increasingly realize that New Orleans was no longer home for you, you guys are being pushed and pressured and like experiencing molting hardcore. Like, I mean, like your windows were busted in at the job site and it wasn't safe to go to work anymore and jobs were falling through. And it was just everything was pointing at leave, like re-establish in a new place. But like you have to have some sort of pressure to push you through. And so
Mhm.
we're at a point where we are going to be packing up and moving and just seeing you guys like trailblaze that has been so beautiful. And like, I'm like, that's why, because watching quite possibly your best friends ever pack up and move away from you is not easy. And, me and Becky had talked about how instead of saying, like, I miss you, like, not to ignore it, but to just like speak on, like, I'm so grateful for the memories. Because, like, being sad about them moving, I wasn't sad about them moving. Like, that was gonna, I knew they were gonna live a new life. They were gonna have opportunities unfold and there was gonna be new beginnings, but there had to be some closures. And seeing you guys do that was really just a piece that I put in my pocket, my back pocket, my front heart pocket, in my sleeve of like, yes, I can. Yes, we can do this. We can like pack up our family again. We've done it before. We have way more on our side of like wisdom and ability, where we are today, like as experience goes. So that's been really, as whirlwind and overwhelming as it is, it's been very special. Like this is a very special um transformation going forward, growth going forward, peeling back those, attachments again. Like I am not my social circle, and if I move and people don't talk to me or something doesn't connect anymore or you know I'm afraid of losing friends, like are they going to find time for me, are they still going to message me, or if I don't go to their house they don't see me, and so like it's already like wow, if I don't call them, will I talk, and like I got to peel that back and see, why am I thinking this, why am I afraid of moving, and like it's I'm a great person and I know that. I'm a magnetic, attractive person. So like what is for me will always be for me. And, you know, that's been a big part of growth because I'm a reformed people pleaser. And, I've always thought that in reform rather, because we're always, we're healing, not healed, duh, right? And so because it takes active effort. You're never done. Like the journey's not like there's like a day one, but there's not like a day 247 and we're finished. It's like eternity. Like, and so, just leaning into that, the understanding that like we got it. If it's, you gotta know that what's gonna be there is gonna be there, and not be afraid of losing people, or, you know, um, I don't know. That was just really huge for me because I've always been like, I don't know, well, what do you want to do? I'll do that just so that we can do things, and that
Right, right.
hasn't necessarily served me entirely, So,
Well, and I got to touch on a couple of things that you have said. First of all, I feel excuse me, where you're coming from about having a husband that works away. My husband is the same. His schedule is really unpredictable. He leaves at the drop of a hat sometimes. And I love that we're talking about this week because I always have a lot of like really big transformative kind of thoughts while I'm driving. And I was driving the other day, just kind of like having a conversation with myself about how when my husband's gone, my house feels sad. And specifically, my kitchen feels sad when my husband is gone because that's where he spends probably like 70% of his time.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and that when you were talking earlier, you said something about maintenance, and the note that I wrote down was maintenance magic. That's what saved my life. And that I know it's blurred right now, but there's a plant that's like right here. That's so like we've talked about before that one of my magics is plant magic, right? And like house, I know we're sad that he's not here, but I put a plant there. There's a living thing there now. So I know it's not him, but what I want to have just like a good bounce around of maintenance magic. Like, isn't that through the transformation, through the goo? Like, what's the maintenance magic that saved your life? For me, it's crystals, it's affirmations, and my cards. Like, those are things that I just will
uh-huh.
gravitate to towards any moment of up, down, sideways, upside down. What about you guys?
I would say
Me-
showing up for myself. That would be my answer. Those things are the tools, but at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, it's that I'm worth showing up for. And that's what I have been working on for the last 2 months since, 2024's, intentions, because we don't believe in resolutions. It's showing up for myself and that I know every day that I'm important enough to show up for. So that means that I might take an extra 2 seconds to prep that meal, or I'm gonna grab my lunch from home so I'm not eating tater tots at school and things like that. Taking the 5 minutes to do the affirmation meditation, that's on my app, downloading that app that Jackie was talking about, Growth Day. Um, I have commitment issues, meaning that I don't like to commit to something unless I really know I'm gonna do it, and I went ahead and paid for the year because it's that important to me that I'm going to show up for myself. That is the maintenance. I'm worth taking care of every day.
mm, mm. And for the annual, it was because I have yet to tell. I told Cliff that we got it. I was like, by the way, we got this for the year. Remember how I asked you, like, a couple of months ago about this thing? It was like $500. This one's like half that price almost. And so we got it now. And that was my conversation. Like, I should have, like, I forgot to tell him. And I could hear in my mind because we don't do purchases over 100 without talking to each other. And I didn't talk to him about it, and I've got to, out of respect for my relationship and how I prefer things, I've got to come back and mention to him, hey, I know that I didn't really like talk to you about it or anything, but Becky made me do it, so you could talk to her. No, really though, you pushed me to do the thing that I knew was going to push the needle forward in my progress, because I know that like I've been doing bare minimum on maintenance, and that's putting myself first in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, like you said. So is that manifestation magic, that maintenance magic rather, pardon me, it's the same. It's the daily check-ins have kept me floating. The affirmation cards are absolutely oracle cards. I've gotten a couple of opportunities to like tap in for message there. And then hydration. Like if I'm not doing anything else, right? Like let me get some water in and some fruit, because that's what gives me vitality. That's what refreshes me and replenishes me and pours back in. And so I didn't start struggling with my weight and my like nutrition and stuff until we started weighing again. last month. And so like I'm gonna have to do a little bit of work there because I was in maintenance like without effort, you know what I mean? Because it had become effortless through a lots of effort, I got it on autopilot for me, but it was hydration, knowing that like I can choose any food I want, but like that the like what I choose determines my mood. I've been using that as a big thing. So um, that's what's kept me maintenance.
Adriana, you've been
Yay.
quiet.
I'm just soaking everything in. Oh, lately my maintenance has just been not it's a trying to get the right words. I'm not guilt or shaming myself anymore for like things that I know I need to do.
Um,
Uh, and that's a huge, huge feat for me. A huge feat. And instead I'm just like, come on, we got this, or like some encouragement, or just like, doesn't this sound so nice? But just like it's more of a pleasurable trigger rather than a shame trigger. So that has been really life-changing for me. And also like anytime I can just like sit outside and just observe, that's it. Like I don't need to be doing something. I can just be there and see the trees, see the sky, see the birds, see the squirrels, whatever. The people walking their dogs, whatever it is. That always just brings me out of my head because I'm very much up here in the mental, very much in my mental. And nature just is medicine. It's magic. It's divine. It's all the things. And so yeah, I think those are like the big things for me. Mhm.
I've got something cool to share. You guys will appreciate. Pulled some cards, of course, before we came on. I'm gonna unblur my background so I can share because it's sunny. So the questions that I asked in the reading that I did with these cards, I asked about past transformation and what are the messages that I learned from past transformation. This is the Eight of Pentacles, and it says passage. And this card looks very dark and scary. But the bobcat is like jumping over this stick, and there's a serpent up here, and it looks very dark and scary, like tumultuous times that we went through. But the message that I got there is that it was hard, but I learned that I can do hard things. And through going through the hard shit, you learn what you're made of. Like that's your character, that's part of your spirit. But you can do hard things. And there's something in you that you didn't even know that you had until you go through that hard thing. And the card that I pulled for the president is the Seven of Pentacles, which in my deck says growth. That I have everything within me to go through the transformation. The future is the goddess of earth. This is Pentacles, the queen of manifestation right here. And this is the shapeshifter, which is the hangman. So the message that I got through these images and these specific cards is that in the present, I can grow and become the person that I want to be, figure out who I really am, because I know I can do hard things. I got that. There will be more hard things in the future, but I know right now I'm building the person that can go through that. And I can manifest whatever it is that I desire. Sometimes I might feel stuck, but stop and take a look around and listen to my intuition and stop beating myself up and know that I'm doing the best that I can. And I might need to stop and take a higher level look to see how I can come up with the solution of the problem, but you're not stuck. You're never stuck. You just feel like it in the moment because you're not seeing all of the options. Um, you can try different things. You're never truly stuck. Use your intuition to come up with the answer to the problem. And it really made me think because this morning I did my first growth chat in that app that we were talking about from Growth Day. There are groups that you can go on and talk with different people that are trying to build themselves up and that are going through personal development and things like that. And the one that I went through this morning was about goals and manifestation. And the exercise that she had us do was to list 5 goals or 5 things that we want. It doesn't have to be a huge goal, it could be something small. Just list down 5 things that we want. And then take a look. And how do we know that we are getting what we want? What are the signs around us that we are getting what we want? That to me really stood out because, we talk a lot about gratitude practices here and affirmations and things like that, but we have to be able to see that the universe is giving us what we asked for. If we just focus on, the negative or, oh man, when I have a house or when I have 2.4 kids and whatever the case might be, we think that that's when we'll be happy. We don't open our eyes to all of these beautiful things that are around us. And I think that that's the beauty of going through transformation. It doesn't belittle those hard things that we go through because sometimes life is really fucking hard. But we have to open our eyes to see all of those beautiful things around us that help us grow in those moments. And that was just like popped into my head, and I was like, that's the perfect timing for this.
Well, and you commented on, and I saw you twirling it around a second ago. I thought you were going to talk about that, your hawk feather, that you said that called out to you today. And Jackie said it earlier that one of her things was about the zoom out. Like that's, at least for me, that's one of the big messengers of the hawk is like, that's what they do. They rise above, they look at things from that big high vantage point. And I just love that like, because y'all know that obviously we're all birders here. But the hawks are really important to me, and they poke out those messages like that. That's a really cool that. And you just pulled those cards just before you got on, huh? And that feather came with you earlier.
Yeah, and it's really funny because the messages of the hawk started coming to me whenever I was living on the farm, because there's a male and female hawk there, and I was spent 2 months wondering what I was gonna do with my life and feeling like a pretty damn big loser because I had no job. I was staying at my mom's house. I didn't know what I was gonna do. And I would watch those hawks. And I realized one day, whenever I was leaving, I saw a female hawk and she flew off and flew like right by me as I was driving. And I had this like thought in my mind, like, she said that she doesn't care what anyone thinks about her. Like, she's out there by herself just doing her thing. She's going to catch her prey, and she don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. And that is the message now that I think of whenever I see the red-tailed hawk, is they are unapologetically themselves, and that's who I should be. Unapologetically be myself, because anytime that I try to tamper who I am or how I feel or play small or whatever, we don't get the best results. I definitely don't feel my best. That's for damn sure. I diminish myself and I play small, and, that's not who I'm meant to be. So that's what the hawk reminds me of. I want to turn this over to Annalisa to talk about your transformations over this last year. What are your reflections of what you've gone through?
Oh goodness. It looks so different. It just looks so different. Really not so much over the last year. When you first said transformations earlier, when we popped on, I wrote in the last 5 years, because that's really where I see the biggest change and the biggest growth. Talking about literally let's unpack the last 5 years is the note I took. And that, similar to you guys, 2020, quit my job, picked up my life, moved somewhere where I didn't really know anybody. It wasn't that far, not as far as as you guys moved, both of all of y'all, truthfully, but still, like, it's a whole new world, and it's this whole new life that I 4 years ago, what are we in? Yeah, 2024. 4 years ago, I would have never even deigned to believe. Um, and it really is the maintenance magic that I had kind of brought up earlier, that the maintenance magic of being who I am. That, you were talking about being unapologetically you. This is my let's see if it maybe not back it up. Anyway, she's from the Tattoo Tarot deck, and there's this little quote that I have right down here that says, "I am grateful to happily and easily be the most magic and authentic me." I really love rhymes. I love words. It's an easy cadence to hit. And that's that transformation there to unapologetically be who I am. Ooh, Jesus. That's some powerful, potent magic that you only learn that by getting there. There's no one that can do it for you. There's no book you can read. There's no podcast you can listen to. It's got to be an effort. And then to keep up the maintenance through it, like that, to not get lost in the shit. I can remember us in I think it was our season 3 finale. I kept talking about, for some reason, I kept saying like turning shit into diamonds, and I didn't know really what that meant. And it really is just about like alchemizing what you have in front of you, turning one thing into another thing. And it used to be frustration and anger, and through magic, it's, like Michelle said, it used to be a rock and a bad attitude, and it's not that anymore. So
Now you're a
that's
diamond.
trans. Yes, now I'm a diamond. That's right. A diamond and a good attitude.
What about you, Adri?
Oh, this year was she was testy. She was very testy. Um, I went th- I went through things, and then also people around me went through some really hard things. And so it was like everybody close to me was just like in some type of shithole. And I found myself trying to hold up a lot of people. Um, Trying to be like the cheerleader, trying to make sure people have what they need, or like being a friend where I could be. And that did not go too well. Um, I ended 2023 really fucking exhausted, and really resentful at the same time, because I was grateful that I could be there for people, but was resentful because I was like, okay, well, it's my turn now. Where's everybody at? Um, and it's because I didn't say, hey, I need help. Surprise. People don't show up, just they don't just get the telepathy. Not everybody has that or is tapped into that. And so that's what I've been working through the beginning of this year. It was a beautiful year as well. I really got a chance to tap into some cool ancestral knowledge and wisdom. Got a chance to take a step away from the cards and be more involved in like bone magic and astrology, which astrology is still a fucking mystery to me, but I understand it just a little bit more. Um, and I got a chance to be the student again last year from like a spiritual magical perspective. But emotionally, I was floored and grieving. I've been talking about that with my therapist, and just how, if I had to sum up 2023, it was grief. I was grieving my dog. I was grieving the fact that life is not the same as what I wanted it to be. I was grieving the changes in our family. I was grieving the way my parents interact. I was just grieving so much, grieving relationships just because of how people act and things they say and believe. And so it was a lot of grief, and that was heavy. I can feel it in my chest even now as I'm talking about it, like just so much to go through. Um, and that also was the catalyst for me understanding that I can't just keep forcing myself to do things from shame and guilt. Because what does that get you? Not a thing. It's not, at least it wasn't getting me a thing anymore. In the natural Aries competitiveness in me wasn't fueled by, you can do better, you person, bitch, slut, whatever fucking derogatory term you want to use. It was more so like, no, come on, sweetie, you got this. Come on. And I'm grateful for that transformation. I'm very, very grateful for it. But also, it means that the old methods or affirmations, even that I once used, don't work anymore. And so I have to find something new. And I'm excited for it. But it's just like, fuck, now I have to start this all over again. What inspires me now? And so that's where I'm sitting right now. And I think also I'm in this period transformation of I don't want to be the strong one. I have no desire to be that anymore. Um, I have no desire to keep the smile on my face or hold it together or be the stable one. I literally could care less. I don't want to be the one who has or can be always responsible and dependable because it hasn't served me. It hasn't served the best of my community. I'm not my best self for my friends and my community when I have to be the strong one. And letting that go is like, it literally makes my skin crawl. It's so uncomfortable. It's incredibly uncomfortable because that's been me for so long. Like, who am I outside of that? I know who that is. I do. I internally know, but to show that to the world is very vulnerable. So yeah, there's a lot turning here. And I'm just chalking it all up to my Saturn return. So yay. So yeah.
So where do we go from here?
Unfolds. Yeah.
Yeah, where do we
next?
go? How do we transform ourselves moving forward?
Well, speaking of the hawk, I'm so glad y'all brought that up because we love the bird. One of my prayers for the hawk is always what I cannot see, the hawk goes before me. And whenever I'm like stuck or I don't know what's gonna happen, I would just always repeat that prayer over and over again. And without a doubt, every single time it'll come through a dream, it'll be somebody else, it'll be a card that I pull, some type of inspiration, spark, insight will come up simply because I just called the hawk to just see with your eyes what I cannot see. And it works. So maybe we just need to let somebody else be the eye so that we can,
Oh,
be inspired. So I don't know.
I'm stealing that. I hope that's okay.
It is absolutely okay.
Because that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yes.
as someone who wears glasses, like that makes physical sense too, because it's like, well, maybe I need to get my eyes checked again. Like maybe I need to have a hawk help me see ahead, you know?
Maybe I need to get my third eye checked.
Yeah, maybe I need to get my third eye checked. Maybe I need a monocle for my third eye. So I can see ahead. Or borrow the owl's eyes so I can see at night.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that wisdom. And that's something that helps me too, is knowing that, like, I know that my spirits have me. I know that I'm covered. I know that, like, even when I'm not giving myself that grace that we've been speaking of learning, I know that my spirits and my people and the things, again, like those things that are for me, they have that built in for me. And
Mm.
so, like, it's in those moments, like, where I'm like, oh, let me, I love having bird's eye perspective. Like, that is one of the things that drew me towards my spirit animals, towards hawks, towards the things, is just like knowing that that's that like higher perspective, that bird's eye view. Like, let me, because that was one of the biggest things that I learned, was being too close to the situation makes you feel like, oh, this is too much, it's too big. Well, like, zoom out, and so,
Mhm.
um, that's been helpful. And then knowing that, like, grief is a part of growth and life. And, you were speaking on grief, Adriana, and I feel like that's all I did this year was like, I was like, I'm grieving. And it, like, I asked myself, like, in a question, like, am I grieving? And, like, when I did that, I realized, oh, yeah, okay. So, like, that's the emotion that I'm feeling. I am feeling, like you said, the deaths of relationships and social scenes and situations and old past selves. And, we talked briefly about, like, um my hair dyeing situation earlier when we started. So, like, I cut and dyed my hair like November, December, and I hated it. It was like I didn't know who was looking back. I didn't like what I was seeing. It was unfamiliar, like, it was just a lot. And so, like, I was like, am I grieving like my old personality, like my old self? And, like, having that hair dye situation told me that that person wasn't dead. Like, I didn't have to kill that person off. Because, like, if I needed to, then I probably would have received the haircut and the dye a little bit differently. But I was like, wait, I made a mistake. Like, I don't need to get rid of myself. I need to be more clear with my boundaries and maintaining them, and, like, stop being a fucking people pleaser, because these people that you're crossing, rivers and mountains for, wouldn't cross a puddle. And not that they're bad people, but that they have their priorities too. And to not get them mixed. Like, people are not me. People don't have my standards. People don't have my expectations. People don't have my reality. Like, it's, and vice versa. So I love the transmutation, the alchemization, the recognizing grief, the perspective, the bird's eye view. I just wanted to touch back in on those since I was driving and getting situated. But so much resonance with those cards you pulled earlier. Like, I am Earth. Like, when I forget who the fuck I am, I stand up and I remember that my name is Jaclyn, woman of the red earth. Like, excuse me, while the sun's giving me golden hour right now, just all over my face. And it feels so good. But that earth and that, like, that transformational power, but you gotta welcome, it's, the caterpillar, the goop. You gotta welcome
Mhm.
the deconstruction of things sometimes, for things to come back together in a better way that is made for you, meant for you, more for you in this moment now. And it's not about starting over, it's about starting from, restarting a cycle with a different awareness and
Mhm.
expanded understanding. You've got experience, because I've learned this through Unstoppable. My first year I started coaching and doing wellness, I lost a good bit of weight. And then, like, that next Christmas, I ate like all the cookies I made, and it was a lot. And I felt like I undid all my work, and I was like, "Oh, shit." And so, like, really had that moment visit me. I really had to go and think about, well, I'm not, like, starting over. Like, now I know that cookies are my weakness, and now I know not to bake cookies in my house and, like, unattended in the winter. Like, bake a, chicken pot pie or something, but, like, go host a cookie baking event somewhere else where you give the cookies away, because that's where my familiarity was coming in. Was I was raised on cookie making baking days with my family, and then we would all leave with, like, a bag of cookies, of all of the cookies. And so, like, while I'm trying to tap into that, familiar feeling of family and comforts in the winter while we're going slow and enjoying the cave times, okay, I really had to, like, peel it back and be like, okay, why am I doing this? What's the science here? And, like, how can I go forward knowing what I know now? Because it's not like we're not going, we're just, how do we go forward? I like that you asked, what's up from here? So I love all of the ideas around that.
Part of my transformation is figuring out a way that I can still work with dogs while I'm working with children. So I'm adjusting to being able to work while dog sitting. That's all part of it. Because like I mentioned the last couple of times that we've chatted about it, I do still feel like some kind of guilt, like I'm abandoning the animals because I know that I am supposed to work with animals. I have a tattoo on my chest that's a veve with a heart in the shape of a paw, and it represents that I am a healer of animals. And one of the little girls at school saw it the other day because I had an undershirt under my sweater, and I went to scratch my chest here, and she said, "Mrs. Moose, you have a tattoo." And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I do." Okay, let's moving on. We're gonna go back to reading the book about owls. But it is there as a reminder because it is a part of my heart and it is a part of who I am. And I am, still figuring out how to incorporate so many different pieces of my identity in a way that doesn't deplete me. Because working with animals in the past, I have let deplete me because I didn't have firm boundaries. And some of the times those boundaries were around the people. It wasn't actually about the animals, it was the people who were demanding things of me that weren't for my greatest good.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. I feel that so specifically and wholeheartedly on so many levels. So in the next coming week, I mentioned it earlier, I'm going on a trip. And it's in the middle of the week and it's probably going to greatly inconvenience my workplace, but I don't really give a shit. Like, I got these tickets and I walked into my boss's office like 2, 3 months ago and I was like, so I'm just letting you know that on these 2 dates, I'm not going to be here. And I know that's going to be a pain in the butt for you, but sorry, I'm going to go enjoy my life now. And that's a huge transformation in and of itself. Cause like, Becky, you know that like when we worked at those previous places we've worked at, um, that's what it was. You were not allowed to have a life. You were living for them on their time. There was no give. There was no give. And it's a good feeling to like note that like 5 years ago, I would have just passed on the concert. I would not. I've just been like, oh, well, I guess that's something I'm gonna miss out on because it's gonna inconvenience them. Fuck them. They'll figure it out. I'm gonna go live my life and do me. So I feel you, Becky. I feel you.
Boundaries are really hard. I think every one of us in this conversation would agree how hard boundary setting is. But that is a big part of setting our futures up, I think.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, for
What
sure.
are our
Because
boundaries and why?
yeah, because it's not just setting up boundaries, it's maintaining them and the worth, the self-worth that goes with like the setting of the boundaries. So part of the grief that I had was like coming to the realization that I myself had allowed myself to be mistreated through not upholding my boundaries. Boundaries aren't for other people. They're for you. They're so that people know how to play your game of life. Where's the door? How they can access your energy. And if they're not like, going by your boundaries, then you have that freedom of will and choice to go and intermingle with energies elsewhere. But that's that remembering because, like, I have a dear friend that I love that I had a hard time establishing not establishing, but maintaining the boundaries because I would need to reestablish the boundary more than once. And then again, I'm like, I'm tired of being the bigger person. And so it has to come to the point of like, okay, so they're gonna like they have chosen and continuously, shown me how they're going to treat my boundaries. Now, will I go and take my toys and go play in my own sandbox? Or am I going to continue neglecting my needs so that I can fit in or fill in or be around people that are temporarily comforting me, though I'm making an exchange in my personal needs, And so that's why boundaries are so fucking hard. It's not in just being like, oh, hey, like, you can't talk to me like that. It's if you keep talking to me like that, I'm going to leave because this is not the conversation I want to partake in. And then following through because it's easier said than done, as usual. So that's my take on boundaries and why they've been so giving me so much grief over the past year. But, because it's hard. It's hard to do.
That's why I think that a lot of us have the hardest time maintaining our boundaries with those are that are the closest to us, like our friends that are really close to us and our family members. Because you don't want to cut them off. You don't want to get up and leave because you don't want to be seen as being disrespectful or whatever. The reason is that you stay and you continue doing it, but you really are being disrespectful to yourself if you don't maintain your boundaries. That is something that we kind of had touched on in the past on here, but I really think it's an important point to bring up. And now and at this point, is maintaining our spiritual boundaries too. So if we have, certain guides or certain ancestors or whatever the case might be that don't respect our spiritual boundaries, like if you get woken up every night at 3 a.m. when you're trying to sleep and you're terrified, things like that, you have to say this isn't what's best for me, um and look back at, is this something that I invited or allowed? Because there is, you have to take responsibility too. Were you saying, "Hey, give me any message.
Ooh,
Give
ooh,
me a
yeah.
message, tell me about whatever, some open-ended thing." Like, are you the one that's inviting that negativity from the spirit realm?
I think
So,
that's a really good point to make. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, just maintaining those spiritual boundaries, that is our, um, personal responsibility as magical practitioners. And something that we have to, I feel like, revisit on a regular basis.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really feel that. So I was talking about how sometimes my house feels sad when my husband's not home. I find I have to do more spiritual maintenance when he's not home. Like I've recently really realized how much like he helps keep the vibe high, but, like, even just, like, the bullshit out, like, he's just such a protective force for me in my home, that, like, I do find, like, I have to do a little bit more. I always get this fascinating rush when I walk through my front door, that, like, I can feel like, it feels like walking through, like, a mist, that, like, whoosh, like, all the bullshit kinda goes away and stays at the door because that's the rule that I've set, the boundary that I've set for there will be none of that shit in my house. And I do find that I have to manually keep that up when he's not home more. So I find that's a fascinating distinction that I've only recently, again, because like I know Jackie was talking about the same thing, with just when moments where it feels like the family's incomplete, that like you have to work a little harder. And I think that that's an important
Mhm.
thing to bring up in a place where like the family household is like a ever morphing thing in 2024 now.
Mhm. Mhm. And, like, in my situation too, we rent, and it's not like we had a lot of options of where to go. We literally rented the only house for rent in town. We had been looking for a couple months and, all of the options, and that was it. And, it ended up, it was cheap, it's close to my school, it's close to the 3 restaurants that there are. So, it's not that it's necessarily a bad place, it's just an older home. It's been added on to a few times, so there's not central air, the heat doesn't go to the upstairs, there's old carpet, and I hate carpet because of having dogs especially. I hate carpet. But it's fine for where we are, but it's not where we want to stay, you know? And so my point with that is that we um are always kind of morphing of what is home. What feels like home and how do we make it feel more like home? One of the first things that we did, thanks to Adam, was hang up pictures. And I recently set up a desk in the living room because I was doing work in the dining room. And whenever it got cold, because it doesn't stay really warm in that area, and when we had done Zoom calls, the lighting in there was really bad. So I just wasn't using the space. So we set up a desk in the living room, and I have that pretty shawl that Jackie had given me with the butterfly behind me. And so just doing the small things to make it feel more like home and make it feel more comfortable, even though in my heart it's a temporary place. It reminds me of whenever I was taking the notes on that card pull right before we got on here of our cancer season episode with the crabs. And we were talking about that home was in us, that we had that realization that home is within us and we can feel and make our home wherever we are. And that's been a really important thing for me to keep at heart over the last year.
Yeah, I feel that. I guess since we've been renting since I have been living on my own, I've pretty much mastered the idea of being in someone else's space and still maintaining my own space. I guess for me, spiritually, something that comes up is that boundary between like work and play. And then also because, for those out there, I am still very much a medium, even though I don't do mediumship readings a lot. Um, I had to tell dead people to leave me alone. Literally leave me alone. My sleep is for me and my ancestors, for me and my family, my home. It's not a time for you to come and say like, "Hey, I no, don't do that. Do that in waking or somewhere else. Send the dream to them. Go visit them in the dream, not me." Um, that has been one big boundary. And then also because of the work that I do is very, like into different organizations and really like building relationship with the people who lead those organizations. So I'm quite literally in people's business. And oftentimes I will get dreams about the business, the work, things that are going on that I didn't necessarily know. And I had to tell spirit, I don't want to know. I Work is work, but I'm not going to have that infiltrating my dream space because that's not a good use of my time. Quite literally a good use of my astral traveling time. So setting that boundaries, I liked when you brought up oh, did I say anybody and everybody can come visit me? I probably did. And I have learned that lesson. No, I do not want any and everybody coming to me in my dream space. And then also, I don't want people dreaming about me. If there's a message, come straight to me. Straight to me. And if I'm still not getting it, you can go to my partner, but still bring that back to me. Circle back and come back to me. Please and thank you. Yeah, I just have my things about that. But that's my own little rant.
That's a good point. It always kind of weirds me out when I have dreams that involve other people because I don't know. I don't even know if it's significant because whenever I have other people in my dreams, it just seems kind of random. Like I'll just be at a place and I'll see them and they're like doing a thing, but it's not like something earth shattering. And I don't want to be one of those weirdos that's like, hey, I had a dream about you last night.
I was literally one of those weirdos when I first started my business. I was like, hey, I actually had a dream about you. And while it was pretty spot on, I don't want to do that. I don't want that to be my reputation.
So I was thinking maybe I just like write it down and like try to, after I write it down, try to just mentally let it go and not dwell on it. And then, if later it does become something significant, I'll probably remember. And if not, it wasn't important,
True. True. Protect the dream space.
Yeah.
It's such a good point to make about the dream space, my God, because you forget about it. But like, it's really, I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but these last couple of, maybe the last 2 or so full moon rounds, the dreams have been banoo news. They've been the same, Adriana, you're talking about like dreams and like the revelations of like workspace things that I'm like, no, 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 no. She's not in charge of anybody. She doesn't want to be. So like, no, thank you. That is, you forget sometimes, I think, that you can set those boundaries, like that it's not just like this external force that's always pushing itself on you. Like you can just actually say like, no, turn it down. I was having that recently with like the ringing in my ears. That there has been, I woke up, I took my tiny little nap today. I'm not a normal nap taker, but the ringing in my ears was just like, "Argh." And I literally had to be like, okay, can we turn the frequency down? Can we turn the level down? And like, I didn't even realize I had fallen asleep, but I finally woke up and the ringing in my ears was gone. And so like, you you can say that's way too loud. It's way too loud.
Turn down self or whatever
Yes.
it is.
Turn down for what? You know it.
Yes.
Turn down for what?
Hey.
That Super Bowl halftime show has been living rent free in my head. I love
it should.
Usher.
I don't partake in major sporting events anymore, so I didn't see it.
It was on, and the only thing I watched was Usher, and I was like, yeah.
There's nowhere around me playing the Puppy Bowl anymore, so I missed the Super Bowl. The bar in my town is closed on Sundays. That's what I'm saying.
That's a small town. You know
It
it's
is.
small town when it's like, nope, we don't do that here.
It's Sunday. The Mexican restaurant and the bar are closed on Sunday, which only makes the crappy pizza place.
Very on point.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small town when you can't get Mexican food on a Sunday.
Right. So
Where
we
does
just
everybody go to
make it.
eat after church?
They have to go down by the interstate, and that's the place that gives you 2 big plates of food when you order it. And they
good
serve
old
all
China.
kinds of food. You can get Mexican food there because the cooks are Mexican. So,
Right.
I checked
but
that.
you can also get your country fried steak and your biscuits and gravy and your hash browns. And
Stop, I'm about to eat a salad. I don't want to hear about any of that.
but it's wild because no matter what you order, you get 2 full dinner plates full of food. You're like, did I really need all that?
Yes. And then you're like, oh man, I really ate all that.
Like, oh man, I really feel sick now.
The Midwest is a fascinating place.
It's like nowhere else.
It is not.
Yep. And you go out to eat and you're like, does this have any seasoning on it?
You need your pocket salt.
Mm-hmm. We got pocket Tonys now. One of our clients in New Orleans gave us little packets of Tonys, so you got to keep that in the purse.
Yes.
Pocket Tonys.
Pocket
Funny.
I had to buy some hot sauce for where I'm dog sitting now, so
That's perfect. You know it's good whenever you gotta like bring your own sauce. BYOS.
yep.
Yeah.
That's something that we learned when we were living down south and coming up here to visit is we would cook in everyone's kitchens when we come up to visit because my husband's such a good cook. But they didn't have any seasonings.
Oh
Or the
yeah.
oregano's 3 years old, so it doesn't even smell anymore.
Uh
So we just start bringing our own seasonings to everybody's house.
Oh, how funny.
You got to set yourself up for success, you know?
You do.
do.
What's
That's
life without a
exactly
little
what-
zest and seasoning?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how he practices magic, you know, is in the cooking. So you got to bring all the ingredients.
I love kitchen witchery, and you know, there's something to be said about like the sad kitchen and like depression meals. And like my teen told me because I've traveled a lot, and he stayed home, and he's like, I had a depression meal the other day. It was like some like cheese and a pepperoni or something, and I was like, that was pretty sad, my man. Let me teach you about proper depression meals, like a grilled cheese or something at least.
You need
But,
some
like-
carbs in there, bro.
Yeah. But like nobody wants to cook when there's nobody to cook for. Like I'm not fixing to like make it. I mean, I will. When I'm talking gourmet, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make me a gourmet grilled cheese with like roasted garlic and stuff. But that's not healthy. And I don't want to like make a like small meal of something healthy. I would much rather just throw it in the blender and be good, when it comes to like nutrition or whatever. But like magic in the kitchen, that's important. Your mindset while you're cooking. And if you're angry,
Mhm.
you probably shouldn't be cooking for people. And, those
Mhm.
kinds of things, those intentions. And so, kitchen magic is just a very special place in my heart, in my altar space. I changed my life with food, and the understanding of it and the developing a better relationship with it. Like, there's no good food, bad food. Like, I've got two tacos. Okay, a burrito and a taco. It's chicken fajita and a chicken whatever with veggies in it. Okay. And then like a salad and some fruit. Like there's not good food, bad food. It's just food and the way that you use it. And these are tools that we have that we get to use. And you can like if you're not feeling well, for listeners that may struggle with mental health, is myself coming from experience, is like your food is your mood. And even if you can't like kitchen wench or do a lot of stuff, there's little things that you can do to support your systems. Like, I know I'm going to be on a road trip. It's a lot easier for me to pull into a drive through and order crappy food than it is for me to like put my thing on mute and go into this loud Bucky's and get what I need for the road. And so it's like being proactive. Like, I could just pull off to Chick-fil-A and this and that, or this or that, or whatever, or whoever, but that's not supporting where I want to go and grow. And so
Mhm.
that food and maintenance, that magic of like choice and
Mhm.
handling what you can. Like I can't, they don't know where they're gonna move us. They don't know. They said Oklahoma 2 weeks ago, and now it's back to Tennessee, and like who knows? But I can control my food and how I'm fueling my
Mhm.
body so that I can receive the news and make the pivot moves that are being called upon me, because spirit's giving me these push points for growth, not to like bring me down and to throw me in a hole. Like spirit doesn't want to see me crash, burn, and fail. Like
Right.
I have a purpose here, and it's not to like show people like how bad it can get. Like I already did that. Like I learned that for myself, and now it's time to, go forward, grow forward in that manifestation magic, that maintenance magic, that, knowing that empowerment. I wanted to
Mhm.
start all with just reminding everybody that it's Pisces season. And so I was, I'm very emotional, but there's so much to be said about like going with the flow. And like there's that big saying that like only dead fish go with the flow. But like also like it's hard to always constantly be going upstream. So, like,
Mhm.
there are seasons when it is called for us to go with the flow, to recognize that there is a greater
Mhm.
being or force or purpose ahead of us and throughout us, that, like, God itself will show through ourselves if we can just listen. And so, God was speaking through my hip and my back, like, slow down, like, rehab yourself and share your story and your purpose and your magic through this. Like I did maintenance, figured that out. Good. Now I know I can do it. Like you saw the video of me hugging my knees and crying because that was me in maintenance mode and realizing that I had done the work and that I was no
Mhm.
longer chasing like 10 more pounds or, a physical physique, because like I like my strong and curvy. Like
Mhm.
yeah, I, see people that are smaller or thinner, and I'm like, man, when's that going to happen for me? And I'm like, if it was supposed to happen for me, it would have. Like, this is my happy place, is being curvy and
Mhm.
having the fullness and the hourglass and I've never had length
Yeah.
like this, and like my shoulders just like shouldering, and like that's what I'm working for. I'm working so that I can carry loads that need to be carried, not like, you know, outwardly. Again, we are talking about those different layers of where I'm at in my health and healing is functional. Like, is this
Mhm.
functional? And so tying all those things together, sustainability, maintenance, magic, functionality, purpose, spirit, discernment, those have really been powerful lessons that have come through for me. Very specifically this recent, past 6 months for sure. So I
Mhm.
love that we have discussed this together.
Yes.
So huge.
Yes.
What you just said, and I wanted to mention what Adriana said earlier about not shaming yourself into doing things. That's what spirit wants for us. Spirit wants us to lift ourselves up, doesn't want us to beat ourselves down. You know,
Right.
spirit wants us to encourage ourselves to keep going. And something that keeps me going is, you know, whenever I do something for myself that maybe I think at the beginning might be hard, and at the end I enjoyed it. When I, like, do that workout that at the beginning, I'm like, "Oh god, we have to do these moves, like, no way I'm gonna be able to do that," but at the end, I say, "I did it." Or making that meal when I'm like, "I don't know how this is gonna taste. It's healthy, but I don't know if I'm gonna like it because 'cause I'm a foodie. It's gotta taste good for me to eat it, okay? But then I take the time and I buy the groceries and I prep the meal and I eat it, and my husband likes it even. What?
Your
And
cupboard meals look so good. You're like, so to say, struggle meals, like those look good. The
yeah,
challenge meals, like those are my favorite
yeah,
moves. Are the ones that you're like, oh fuck. I lean into those and I'm like, look, if I can do that at the end of it and love it, like I did the
yep,
same thing with burpees. I was like, everybody hates burpees. Let me lean in. I love them. Because why, like that's the thing. The hardest thing, like while I was in physical therapy, like pulling one leg back was the hardest thing for me. And that's what
mhm,
I needed the most because I couldn't sustain my weight. I couldn't bear weight on one leg and move my other leg without
mhm,
excruciating pain because I had stopped doing that.
mhm,
You know what I mean? Like, oh, it hurts when I do that. So I stopped doing that. But that was the thing that was pushing me. There's a difference between pain, pursuing pain and pursuing progress through discomfort.
right,
And, it's that like, okay, this is going to be a little uncomfortable for me, but I know that's where I'm going to grow. I know that's where I'm going to rise to the challenge. I know that's where I'm going to
yes,
find out, like you said earlier, what I'm made of, who I am, and what I
yeah,
can do.
yes, yes.
Yes,
I think that
that
that's
makes
a yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say so do y'all Becky, Adriana, do y'all remember what Michelle's note about the Eight of Pentacles was? I will never forget this. And it's always even if you're not a Rick and Morty fan, you can appreciate it. There's these like giant aliens that like their heads in the sky, and basically they just say, "Show me what you got."
Yeah.
And that is exactly what that Eight of Pentacle cards is to me. It's that repetition, it's the doing the work, the keeping up with the maintenance, the not letting the bullshit and the goo break your routines and your habits. And like, like it's just there's this has been such a wholesome conversation that I didn't realize. I took so many notes. I didn't realize how much I needed this. Like, y'all are rock stars.
I
Show me
love
what you
connecting.
got.
Yeah. Like bring it. I like talking about the other day. Our friend, Bull, he was talking about like, I love having a good challenge. And I was like, bro, I like having a good challenge for breakfast that I do myself, universe. You heard that? Okay.
Mm,
That I bring upon myself because then it sets my bar for like, you heard them boundaries coming through.
mhm,
I have, you know, I want to challenge myself and I want to know that throughout my day, nobody's going to give me more shit than I just gave myself, aka burpees or the hard move or
mhm,
the whatever, that hard phone call that you needed to have. Not that you need to wake up with like cortisol in your system, but that you naturally wake up with plenty of cortisol. And that's the best way to channel it is to just like do a self challenge because you're going to put that cortisol in direction in a beneficial, proactive way. You're not going to wait for a trigger for you to have a stressful moment. Like you're going to jump right in. You're going to eat the frog. You're going to jump right in and do the thing. And nobody else is going to like, that was cake. Like nobody can kick. My favorite thing is the Jim Carrey, the Me, Myself, and Irene in the bathroom scene where he's like, I'm kicking my own ass. Do you mind? Like, I just love that so much. And I think about that all the time.
Yeah, I guarantee that the things I do to myself are a lot harder than the things other people do to me or ask of me.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
'Cause like the rest of the folks in this room, I'm the hardest person on myself out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Accurate, accurate. It's those standards, those really high standards, but also like that perspective of like being like, hey, bitch, you're actually not that far off from where you want to be. So I took
Yes.
an assessment earlier through the growth app and I'm at like a 78%, which is not great, but I am not doing half as bad as I thought I was. Okay.
Yeah.
Based on, taking an assessment. It's important to take those assessments frequently because they help you understand like, okay, what is helping, what's not, and where am I actually at? Like where do I need to go? Like I told my husband how much we made annually because he doesn't know. And he's like, I gotta work, I gotta pay the bills, I gotta do the thing. And I'm like, babe, like you can chill the fuck out. We are good. Like we are gravy right now, okay? Like you could take a weekend, okay? Because if you don't know what you're working towards, you don't know when to like rest. And if you don't do
Yes.
that stuff, you'll never know if you hit your mile markers or not. Like that's why
Yeah.
I love milestones so much. Especially like monthly. So like monthly check-in, boom, where am I at? You ask where to go from here. It's just like what's the next thing? Like you got things on check. If you got routine on check with your like family, so that's me. What's next for me is figuring out my family situation. Because like
Mhm.
I got the other things fine. Like I just need to stop worrying about if I'm doing the right foods because that's stressing me out. I know what to eat. Like I'm not new to this. Trying to figure out what's gonna work and that's not working. It's stressing me out. But family, I can focus on family, I can focus on our budget, I can focus on saving. Those are the things that I can do. It's that's what I'm going.
Mhm. I just since we're having some accountability here, I am working on my routines and budget. Um, Budget falls into that routine for me though, because living in survival mode for so long, like I developed bad habits of like not checking the bank account or
Oh yeah,
things like that because it's like, well, I don't want to know
yeah,
or what we owe to so and so or things like that. Not saving because I couldn't afford to save, just things like that. I just developed bad habits out of survival, and I don't have to do that anymore. The card I pulled for today, my affirmation, it said I am thriving, and that's the word that I picked for 2024. When we picked our word, I am thriving. And I don't see it yet because I'm still like thinking I have to hustle all the time. I'm still like in that mindset of, oh, I got to work 5 jobs, to pay the bills and all of that. And it's like, I actually don't think I have to do all of that. Why don't I
yeah.
sit down with a budget and like write things out and know where my money's going and know how much more I need to make? So like
That
maybe I yeah, maybe I don't have to work like 60 hours. But I don't know because I'm not looking at it because I just think I have to keep hustling.
right.
That's my thing. Ladies, what are you working on this year? Accountability.
I think when is anyone not working on their budget in 2024? If you're not looking at your budget, fool on you. Sorry, judging a little bit. Because you gotta be. Shit's expensive in 2024.
Mhm.
Like, holy shit. My husband and I, let's see, maybe it was in this house, so it had to be sometime in the last 3 years. We had to have like a real that man is magnificent with money. He has taught me so much. Like we have gotten so much under control. Cause like same thing, Becky, like you, I used to be someone who it was kind of a head in the sand situation. We're just gonna not pay attention and it'll just figure itself out. But that's not always the case. But from the other end of that, we it was actually when we were eating the last batch of sausage gravy that Adam made when y'all left. So it was relatively recently. It was in the last
Aw.
sometime in the last 365 days. And he said he just offhandedly passed a comment where he was like, oh, well, I'm glad to know that you like, sausage gravy and things like that because it's something that's so cheap because that's what we're going to have to eat when we're poor. And I was like, I kind of like had a not great reaction to that. But in the sense of that, like, same thing, like, Jackie was saying, and you're saying that, like, will you stop saying things like that? Because, like, you work your literal ass off to make sure that we, my family, my dogs, everybody, that we have everything that we need. So like, I'm not saying let's put our head in the sand and go full ostrich about it, but like, don't say things like that, because I do believe that when you put sometimes that silly emphasis behind it, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And like, even if we had to live life poor, so be it. I would just be happy to be with him. But like, don't like shift the mindset out of that. Like, we are in a spot right now. Like, I know you can't see it, but this house behind me, it's beautiful. Like, in that, we brought that to fruition. And especially he did, by how hard he works. And so like, I fussed at him, like, don't diminish your hard work by saying things, like that. So that is, that ties into just the good mindset, we're focusing on joy this year. We're putting those things first. That's kind of where I'm at. That's what that made me think.
I'm glad the gravy helped with the realization.
Oh, it was so delicious. And it makes me feel like hot on the inside. So I literally was like, like, don't you say that. All the sausage gravy. I'm ready to go.
Jackie knows about that sausage gravy.
If all I had was my husband and some gravy, life would be okay. And my son. Sorry, kiddo. Oh, shit. Don't tell them I said that. You can tell most I said that. You can tell the mister. He's a teenager, and red solo cup of gravy doesn't talk back. So
Exactly. What about you, Adri? What's your focus for this next year?
Oh God, just to live, I guess. No, but honestly, it's just to get healthy, I think. Ultimately, it's just to get healthy. I am like actually reinvested in therapy. This week was my first full week of like regular workouts, which was huge for me because I'm really good at doing one little thing here, stopping, one little thing there. But this week I went every other day to the gym. And I'm getting things off of my chest. I am getting things off of my chest, which contributes a lot to me having lower stress levels because I'm not ruminating on those things inside of my body. And so far, that's working out great for me.
Good.
It is really doing a lot for me. It is helping me be more confident, not second guessing myself, realizing that I actually know my shit. I know what I'm talking about. And that's okay. It's okay to be in a space like that. And yeah, I'm sure health will show up in whatever other ways the rest of this year. But for right now, like, this is working.
Yay.
Mhm.
Good.
Mhm.
I'm excited because we are like getting ready for our new year, the astrological new year. And so this is the time to implement those things. In our culture, we focus on the beginning of the year in January, and you have your resolutions. And I know we chatted about this before, but resolution means you're resolving something, like you're throwing something away. Okay. So we are starting this new year with Ostara in March, the beginning of spring, like something new. But we are falling back on our future or on our past, falling back on what we learned from the past, and we're not getting stuck in that. We learned a lot of lessons from the past, and we can go basically wherever we want to go. The future is limitless. I think that's what all the struggles have taught me.
And Adriana, you posted something on the gram the other day about listening to like your inner guidance system, and you were talking about the robins and how like they were really the signifier that like spring was coming. And you really inspired me to actually like go out in my backyard and start to look around. Everything is starting to blossom. My passion vine is back. I thought that sucker was dead. My pomegranate's got little buds all over it. And so like it was a real like, oh shit, like spring really is here. Like it's I'm so excited because spring is I am an Aries baby all the way. Like, bring on the spring. So that's what a good, like I said earlier, this has been just such a good, wholesome conversation to have about transformations and how far we've come and what's coming next because spring has sprung, y'all. Thank God.
Strong.
We did. We went and cleaned up the yard and we saw like we did, winter plant back damage control. But we noticed like I've got like leaves on the apple tree and little buds on the blueberry bush and this and that and the other. And it's really nice because you know what, like winter was we had a weird winter. I don't know about anybody else. The winter was like not here, then it was like, hey, actually I'm here. And then it like dipped out and like it felt fake. Everything about winter felt fake and odd and it just was weird. And so like I lost a lot of plants that I use as that I scry with. And so they were telling me there was all kinds of, cutting and cordage and severance and culling happening that was partaking in the spring coming back. We'll see what comes back and what's meant to be. And, like I said in the yard and like I said in the earlier in the podcast was like, what's meant for me will be like what plants are going to make it. Like they are going to make it. There's nothing I can do about it, besides welcoming the spring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really feel that too. February historically has been the hardest month for me being up north because the winter has been so long usually. And we have had some 50-degree days with sunshine. And it has been amazing to see people at, even at school, like people in the mundane that are like, the sun's out. And like everyone's just like vibing because they can see the sun. And I'm like, yes, like that is me. And like it does my heart so much good to see the sun and the signs of new life. And up here, usually we don't have anything for another month or so, but we've got like little crocuses poking out of the ground and some little tulip plants too. But yesterday morning we had snow on the ground, new snow. So, the plants around here, they know not to get going too fast. And I think that is a lesson for me too of like, don't beat myself up that I'm not going as fast as I think I should be going, right now, that like it's not time to bloom yet.
It's on time. It's still time to like soak in the soup,
Yeah.
warm and the cozy and the comfort. Not
Yeah.
like giving up and being like, well, summer's never coming again, spring's never coming again. I'm just gonna eat all of my stores and
Right.
not care about ever going back outside, but like also like I'm supposed to be doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of a lesson for me a couple weeks ago whenever I was dog sitting because I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get all this work done while I'm sitting." And then I finished everything, I made dinner and I had walked the dogs and I fed them and drove extra time to get over here. And then it was 8 o'clock at night and I was like, I'm reading a book. So for the first time in years, I was reading a book for fun.
Was it a good book? Is it a very good book? Do you like it?
Try making here.
Yeah, I picked up a book for fun. The Akatar series, The Court of Thorn and Roses.
Yes.
I just barely got into the first one, but
I recommended a book to Adriana Daisy Darker. Everybody go read it. It's very good.
Okay, I have to tell you this. The book is called Spirit Animals, and it's a series. It's a young reader book, maybe for kids around like 10 to 12 in there. And it's in my library, and I was like, a book called Spirit Animals. And the crux of the book is that some of these kids they have to drink a drink when they turn 11, and some of them summon spirit animals, but only a select few do. And so it goes through the kids who summon their spirit animals and what they do with them and things like that. So I figured it was a good one for me to pick up.
That sounds dope.
And it's neat too because it's like, a young reader book. It's short chapters, it reads quickly. So I'm already like 100 pages in and I'm like, look at me. I can read a book. I'm a librarian.
Short wins. There's so much to be said about short wins. Like that's what my
Yes.
fantasy book was. Like the first book is like kind of small, and so I said the same thing. I was like, "Oh, go me! Look how good it is!
Yeah.
Like I'm into this. I'm like enjoying it. I'm making progress in this, enjoying it. Instead of like a great book that I've been, typically have read for the past 6 years. So
Yeah, and typically the books that I read, was why this is funny, is I always read nonfiction books about different topics. And the only thing that you could possibly consider fiction, but it's debatable, that I've read in the last 20 years is mythology. Yeah. So otherwise, everything is, nonfiction. Even my spiritual books, it's all about, techniques and tactics and how to
wow.
visualize and history of, and that kind of thing. So I never really let my mind go through like fantasy.
That's a whole new transformation for you, Becky.
Right. Yeah. That's why I'm like, I know it sounds funny that I'm excited that I'm reading a book, but it's
No,
for
I
fun
think
and
it's
I'm
great.
enjoying it.
Just the fact
fun.
that you can do something for fun like that.
That is mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I can do something for fun, that I don't have to have a purpose for it.
Yeah, there's
It's
like
pretty
no gain
wild.
except for like just enjoyment. Like what? As someone that's used to like productivity and like what's this gonna do for me or people around me, like
Exactly.
that's what it's gonna do. It's just gonna make me happy because it exists.
Exactly. Well, I think that's a good place for us to stop here. We've had a truly wonderful conversation about transformation. I feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Felt emotional. We cried. We've laughed. I think that we need a big group hug. Leave.
Group hug.
And know that we have the power to transform ourselves and our path into whoever we want to be. And we have the power for that. So on that note, stay magical.
Stay magical.
Stay magical.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Magical Aspirations. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Magical Aspirations to keep up with the latest and the greatest from Annalisa, Adriana, and Reverend Raven, and to join in on the Magical Aspirations conversations. Come check out our website, magicalaspirations.com, to find bonuses from our guests, our Magical Aspirations blog, and to reach out to our magical hosts with questions, comments, reviews, or ideas for future episodes. We are so grateful for each and every one of you listening. Thank you again, and as always, stay true to your magic.